Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, you wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. Well done, Erica, my double, my piece. What do you think, Lambda? Doesn't this prove that Erica's lookout in the lounge contains absolute reliability as far as constructing alibis? Again, I have to argue. If it's impossible for all the other people that aren't Natsui to do this, how did Natsui do it? Yeah, I acknowledge it. Erica, your seal is perfect. But then again, that proves that it had to be magic, right? Which means Erica and Burn Castell's side loses. Because after all, if it's impossible for any human to do it, then how is Natsui, the human culprit you accuse of this crime, possible for her to commit the crime? Yeah, I acknowledge it. Erica, your seal is perfect. I'll acknowledge it in red. It was impossible to reach the second floor of the guest house without passing through the lounge, and impossible to reach it at all without Erica, who was in the lounge, knowing about it. Thank you very much, Lady Lambda Delta, so you know what's coming next. Great Lady Beatrice. Therefore, the time of the crime is limited to the single hour between midnight, when they were confirmed to be alive, and 1 a.m. when our party in the lounge started. Gah. I've already said it, but at 24 o'clock, I went down to the lounge, hit it off with Dr. Nanjo, and was engrossed by a discussion of the mystery genre in the library until 1 o'clock a.m. It's a bit embarrassing, but I grew so wrapped up in that discussion that I wouldn't have noticed if anyone had passed through the corridor during that period. Quite a regretful mistake for a detective, after doing all that maneuvering and setting up seals to guarantee a perfect alibi. She became too engrossed in a mystery discussion and left an opening. Her relaxed smile was completely shameless, the total opposite of her words. It almost seems like it's the other way around. It's enough to make you think that this was an intentional trap to make it clear to all that only Natsui didn't have an alibi between midnight and 1. In other words, it paradoxically means this: the only ones who could have reached the cousin room and committed the crime are those characters who have no alibi between midnight and 1. Her eyes clearly hinted that Natsui was the only one who fit this description. It should have been a crime whose time and location were completely unknown during that long night, but because of the alibis Erica had constructed, it had been limited to the time period between midnight and 1. Erica left the cousin room at midnight. That marks the last confirmation that George and the others were alive, and after the party in the lounge started at 1, it was impossible to reach the cousin room by any method. Damn her. And from a mere human, this is quite bad. The night has been sealed up into an hour, and at this rate, there won't be many suspect pieces left. Damn it, Lady Burn Castell, nicely done. Unlike Battler, I'm not an idiot. After watching this game 5 times, I've got more than enough cards in my hand. Then let us continue. let's examine the alibis of the remaining suspects, the people in the mansion. After all, we only have to worry about the single hour between midnight and 1. That shouldn't be difficult at all. Let's start with midnight. At this time, Matsui, Kraus, and Genji are in the second floor corridor, and all of the others are in the first floor dining hall. This has already been shown by my master's red. Yeah, that's right. At midnight, Natsui, Kraus, and Genji were in the corridor on the second floor of the mansion. The rest of them were in the dining hall on the first floor, and as you know, there was a mysterious knock and a letter with a one-winged eagle seal on it appeared. The discussion surrounding that continued on until 1. I will say it with the red truth. Of all the people in the dining hall, not one of them left the dining hall until 1. Since the possible times for the crime has been limited between midnight and 1, the adults in the family conference who were confirmed not to have left the mansion between midnight and 1 all had proven alibis. And how do you intend to prove that? Eric is in the guest house. Did someone prove it by using one of your favorite seals in the dining hall door? You have no convincing evidence or proof. The red truth is simply truth, and there is no need to provide evidence, proof, or room for a counter-argument. You made that rule. This overbearing red truth hadn't only given alibis to the adults in the dining hall, it also gave alibis to Shannon and Cannon, who would come to serve tea, and even guaranteed that they never left the dining hall. In other words, the only ones who didn't have proven alibis were these 3, Natsui, Kraus, and Genji. No, there were only 2 left. If Kraus and Genji had their alibis proven, it proves that no one but Natsui could have been the culprit. Let's do Genji next. He's a victim, but you can't deny the possibility that he committed the crime in the cousin room, and then was killed himself. And furthermore, though he was in the second floor corridor at midnight, he then returned to the servant room to transfer the phone call for Natsui and was completely isolated. Which means it was possible for Kenji to commit the... I'll say it in red. When Genji finished transferring the call, he immediately returned to the waiting room. That's just a cold, hard truth without any evidence, proof, seals, or alibis. Got it? Then at 1:00 a.m. there was another break-in the family conference, and Rosa returned to the guest house. At that time, I'm truly thankful for your cooperation. Ushiromiya Eva-san, please rise. Erika-chan wasn't the only one, okay? I was also certain that something would happen that night. She's the person who taught me how to make those seals, and she helped me check the alibis of those people under suspicion. During the break at 1 a.m., I went to Genji-san's waiting room and used the same seal as Erika-chan. In other words, if that wasn't broken, it would mean that no one entered or left the room between 1 and the next morning. Now, Kanon-san and Kumasawa-san, please rise. Kanon rose expressionlessly, and Kumasawa got to her feet timidly. In the morning, you two went to wake Genji-san because he had slept in, right? And at the time you noticed the door was sealed, broke the seal and opened the door, correct? Yes, I thought it was some kind of prank. I didn't think deeply about it at the time. I'm not asking for your opinions, just give us the facts. Did you break the seal and enter the room? Yes. With the red truth, I'll guarantee that Ava, Kanan, and Kumasawa's statements just now are the truth. At 1 a.m., Ava sealed Genji's waiting room, and that seal was broken by Kanan and Kumasawa in the morning when the crime was discovered. This will be a pain, so I'll add on some more. During the short break at 1 o'clock a.m., the first two to leave the dining hall were Rosa and Ava. Until Ava returned, everyone in the dining hall remained there. After seeing Rosa off, Ava went to the waiting room and sealed it. Of course, she did not enter the room at all at this time. This is all information gathered from the people involved. It isn't a red truth without a basis. It's a truth due to proper reasoning constructed from testimony. Not only testimony, but the limits of scientific investigation, such as collecting fingerprints, were used here. After all, Kinsa-san studies a treasure vault with all kinds of chemicals. I obtained all sorts of results to create an ultimate truth infinitely close to a red truth. This isn't a science mystery, so I'll spare you the details. As Erika swaggered around the cathedral, she arrogantly touted her scientific knowledge. She had thorough knowledge of all the chemicals in Kinzo's study and had used them to conduct a scientific investigation, which had now been acknowledged and made into a red truth by Bern Castell. She didn't explain the details, but she had obtained the results that were convincing even without the red truth. Collecting fingerprints with aluminum powder, component analysis of the mud under someone's shoe, and various chemical reactions from clean rainwater. Erika just walked into someone else's study several times and used several chemicals however she pleased, all without asking the family's permission. However, no one could fault her for this. The pieces couldn't hinder any action the detective might take for the investigation. That's the power of the detective's authority. You act like you own the place. From now on, I'll tell everyone I meet if someone claims to be a detective, never welcome them into your house as a guest. That's probably a good idea. Giving shelter to a detective is just about the worst omen of misfortune out there. Because of this, it has been proven that it was only possible to reach Genji's waiting room and commit the crime between midnight and 1. And furthermore, by Erika's investigation, it has been proven that it was impossible for Genji to reach the cousin room. It had already been made clear in red that after transferring the phone call to Natsui, Genji had gone straight back to the waiting room. And because of Erika's scientific investigation, further red had been added, saying Genji never left the mansion after midnight. Because of this, it's been made clear that Genji couldn't have reached the guest house, much less the cousin room. Genji has an alibi. Now only Kraus and Natsui remain. Everyone else has had their alibis proven, haven't they? Impossible. Natsui's mouth flapped open and shut like a suffocating goldfish, and that's an accurate analogy. Natsui's mind was blank and spinning out of control, and she felt as though she really would suffocate. Ushiromi Natsui, I'll give you one last chance. Confess that all the crimes were the work of your husband. Fool, do I look like the kind of woman who would falsely accuse her husband? Beato, Natsui's denied it. I'll give you the same chance. You understand, right? Or wait, don't tell me. You aren't going to take advantage of the fact that Kraus is missing to try and pull a devil's proof on me, are you? Gah. Beato realized that they were rapidly approaching the end of this battle. Normally, Beato should have been able to argue against these alibis of Erika's in several ways using the blue truth. However, all of these alibis have been accepted by Bern Castell Lambda Delta as red truth, and Beato no longer had any room to argue. It's like those witches are distorting things so that they can match with a plot line Erika's drawn up. That's right. If the Game Master Lady Lambda Delta accepts the truth, its authenticity will not be questioned. The world that comes after will be formed based on the final remaining truth. This happens no matter how far this final truth is from the real truth. There's no way Uncle Kraus is the culprit. He's being held prisoner somewhere. Wait. We can't deny the possibility that Aunt Natsui was skillfully tricked into believing that during the phone call. Do you suspect Natsui and Kraus, Battler-kun? Well, Erika's truth has been constructed in a cowardly fashion, but it is a proper truth. Though the witches did conspire with her, it still has been acknowledged as a red truth. In other words, it cannot be a fake truth built solely on lies. This means that even Erika's truth is supported by logic. truth about Natsui and Kraus being culprits is also very possible. Even if it's a mixture of truth and lies, it makes sense logically. It's a mixture of truth and lies that is just as valuable as the truth is. Which of those truths will you believe? That is up to you to decide. No, I'll trust Aunt Natsui and Uncle Kraus. I realize they're in some money trouble, but even so, I don't want to believe that they're the culprits. No, I can't believe it. On this game board, where the red is steadily cornering Natsui, how do you intend to let her escape? I don't know. However, I seriously don't want to give up. Aunt Natsui was just caught in a cowardly trap. Erika's reasoning has fallen for that trap completely. So whether it's intentional or she's being manipulated, Erika is aiding the true culprit. Erika has accused Aunt Natsui of being the culprit. But even if everyone here believes that, in fact, for that very reason, I want to be the one person who trusts Aunt Natsui. If everyone believes it's her, will that become the truth? If everyone accepts a lie, will that become the truth? Must an honest person be dragged up to the guillotine, all alone and taunted by liars? I don't like it. If no one else will believe in Aunt Natsui, then I will. The real truth isn't something that's determined when everyone accepts it. It's something you find after thoroughly investigating both possibilities. So this trial is a downright lie. This trial exists for no reason other than to set Aunt Natsui up as the culprit. Beato is doing all she can to plead Natsui's case, right? Wrong. Beato is trying to refute Erika's argument. She's just defending. You can't fight in this trial by simply resisting all of your opponent's claims. This is why Beato always cornered me in the past. She isn't going to be Erika by finding flaws in her reasoning. She has to find a different truth and show Lambda Delta, the commander of this game, that her truth is more correct than Erika's. Can anyone create a truth where Natsui isn't the culprit without violating the red truths that Lady Berncastel has shown? I don't know. But as long as I don't believe that Aunt Natsui is the culprit, there's got to be a different truth. It's even okay if the culprit for the crime was a witch. That's better than having Natsui be framed by an incorrect truth. So, no matter how much red truth you are shown, you won't believe that Natsui is the culprit, correct? Yeah. For all things, there should always be some people who believe and some who don't. No matter how much evidence is stacked up against her, someone has to believe that she's innocent. There must be several truths in the world that cannot be proven with evidence. I don't ever want to accept that something's true just because everyone says it is. How can you be so sure that there's nothing on the backside of the moon if you've never seen it? Is there some reason that you have to believe it until you see the back of the moon with your own eyes? You can deny neither the possibility that nothing's there at all, nor the possibility that there's a thriving culture of space bunnies. You should never assume something is the truth until you actually check it. This court is a malicious thing, trying to force a single interpretation on a truth that cannot be checked. I believed there was a civilization on the back side of the moon, but that was in elementary school, and I was made fun of and laughed at, so I thought it was embarrassing to think that a civilization lived on the moon, and I threw away that belief. I've been told by a book my mom read me that rabbits lived on the back side of the moon, so I believed that for a long, long time, but when everyone said it was wrong, I abandoned that truth without even trying to check it. Even without evidence, I abandoned the truth I believed in. And now everyone is starting to believe that Aunt Natsui is the culprit. Bunnies. Even though no decisive evidence has been shown. I've already mentioned that if I ever get a pet, I'd get two. It'd either be rabbits or cats or dogs, but whatever I'd get, I'd have two of them, and I would name them Lace and Iris. Even without evidence, Erika's words sound reasonable, so they're probably the truth. Is that why you're throwing away your belief that Aunt Natsui is innocent, despite a lack of proof? Oh, ye of little faith. If no one else will believe, then I will. I believe the real truth only appears if you look with both eyes, one denying and one affirming. And I've said this before when it comes to all things. It is good to have a healthy mix of skepticism and faith. And the only way to really have any real belief in anything is by doubting everything. You question everything. No questions off limits, whether it be in philosophy, religion, politics. Question, why do I feel this way about this? Why do I think this? Question every belief you have. And in the end, well, how else are you supposed to understand anything? And at that point, if you've doubted everything and tried it, well, there's no better way to make your faith stronger. It's said that the way a blacksmith knows that the silver is purified is when he can see his reflection in it. No matter how much she tries to make us believe that Aunt Natsui is the culprit, I believe she isn't. I won't abandon that belief. Understood. Then I will give you just a single red truth. I will give this single bit of power to you. Now you possess the will to fight, in the truest sense. Power? By the name of the finite witch, Virgilia. No, as the former witch Beatrice, I will grant you this red truth. Ushiromiya Natsui is not the culprit. A plea bargain? If you acknowledge that Kraus is the culprit, Erica will suspend her pursuit of Natsui. From then on, the investigation will proceed, assuming that Kraus, whose location is unknown, is the culprit. What'll you do, Beato? At this rate, Natsui's in serious trouble, right? Will you accept the plea bargain? If you're willing to abandon this Ushiromiya family honor thing, Bernal, be kind enough to let you get off with a draw, okay? Kraus is currently missing, and it's unknown whether he's alive or dead. Like Kenzo, he's no different than a cat in a box that has disappeared into the mists of the island. A cat inside a box is unfixed, and no interpretation of it can be denied. It is the root of endless interpretations, the true source of the endless witch's power. In other words, no matter how much Berncastel claims that Kraus is the culprit, she can't make that the sole truth. In other words, Kraus' culprit theory and the witch theory can be an almost perfect balance. It would mean making the game a draw. This was cajolery, offering her a second chance if she abandons the honor of the family she swore to protect, and consents to a fragment that stomps all over that honor. There's no room for false confidence. For Beato, to lose is to die. In this game, she should always choose a draw, unless she has an overwhelming advantage. I swear Piccolo said that at one point. I won't allow you to treat my husband like the culprit. My husband is the successor to the Ushiromiya family headship, the only person who will inherit the glory of the Ushiromiya family. I will never let you treat him like a criminal. Are you sure, Natsui? If you refuse to suspect Kraus, then you'll be the only one left. Alibis have been proven for everyone else. In other words, Hempel's Raven. Even without any evidence, it will be determined that you are the culprit. And if I'm the only one left, what then? Am I Ushiromi Natsui, I will not run or hide. I am innocent, and I am the representative of the noble head with the one-winged eagle engraved into my heart. If you wish to insult me, go ahead. If you wish to ridicule me, do as you please. No one can damage my honor with a mixture of truth and lies. With a dignified voice, Natsui stated her case openly before the witches above her. However, this response of hers might have been exactly what Bernkastel had intended. Natsui refuses the deal. And you, Beato? You understand, right? The instant Natsui is specified as the culprit, Lambda will make her verdict. As soon as that happens, the illusion of the witch will be denied and you'll disappear into the mist. Do you plan to let Natsui's foolish bragging drag you down to the depths of depths of hell? The depths. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. Riche, you fought well. This is our chance. Convince Natsui and try to work out a compromise. Both Lady Lambda Delta and Lady Bernkastel have boredom, not you as their true enemy. They probably want to have this game repeat and play some more. If they see that you're willing to make a concession, they will most likely accept it and gladly move on to the next game. If we move on to the next game, then what will happen to the Natsui of this game? The Natsui of this fragment? Now isn't the time to be worrying about that, right? Natsui is just a piece. Even if she gets removed from this game, she'll show up again in the next one. But that doesn't apply to you, milady. I believe you know what Lady Bernkastel plans for this game. It's a more realistic goal to make use of that and aim for victory in the next game instead. Accepting Lady Bernkastel's deal might be our one and only good option right now. Throw away that useless pride of yours. Neither Kasparov nor Deep Blue won every game. The person that wins more games wins in the end, right? If a witch gets too attached to a single match, a single life, a single piece, that witch dies. My apologies, but I cannot do that. I know the strength of a man who believed even though everyone said he was wrong, and I know the suffering he went through when he was forced to abandon that belief. I will not abandon Natsui. Why? Because if everyone else suspects Natsui, then someone has to believe in her. Because truth can only be found in the gap between those who doubt and those who believe. I won't abandon her. Even if everyone believes that Natsui is the culprit, I will still claim that I, the witch, am the culprit. If I can't even make that claim, my existence isn't worth anything. I cannot lose. The truth isn't something anyone gets to deny. Only when you doubt and abandon it yourself does it disappear. Is that your answer, Beato? Yeah, of course. I refuse. Ushiromi Kraus is not the culprit. Fool. I won't let you take that back, okay? Here's what you get for being a quick-tempered moron. Do you feel it's a bit hypocritical? Not only given the way you and your friends behaved in the other world, but also the fact that I know in many situations, someone behaving in the opposite fashion would also be criticized. So at the end of the day, what value does your condemnation have? If you'd have a condemnation regardless of what she'd say or do or not do, no matter what. If there's no... If you're going to have something... basically spiteful to say about and condemning, regardless of a person's options, then there's no pleasing you with that. Or heck, another way to put it is this. No, I don't think it quite. I mean, the Rick and Morty thing, like, it's like your cheers. It's like your boos mean nothing. I've seen what you cheer for. By the name of Bernkastel, Witch of Miracles, I speak with the red truth. Ushiromiya Kraus is not the culprit, and he was killed long ago, shortly after you heard his voice over the phone. Get it? Well, now she's sad. No. Okay, but... but they updated that. Murdered after the early morning phone call, from which Natsui learned that he was still alive. His corpse was not found, but his death was guaranteed by Wrinkles of the Red Truth. And apparently in that fashion as well. So, like, as soon as that phone call, like, where, oh, he's alive, by the way, and then he was just instantly killed as soon as... But the fact that he was killed after the phone call means several questions. Who would have had the ability to kidnap Kraus? And it's been confirmed that Shannon and Cannon didn't do anything that caused the letter to drop there. I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who and how, and I honestly don't have an idea. I don't know. I can't even guess. Nothing, like when I try to weigh all of the people presented, nothing exactly clicks. The deer, Bernkastel's cruel and ruthless red blade gouged Natsui. It was totally merciless. Natsui had been crushed with uncertainty, not knowing whether Kraus was alive or dead, but she had still been capable of believing that he was alive, and now that hope, that expectation, had been crushed without any chance for a miracle. She had thrown herself into this trap out of concern for her husband's safety. She had now lost her daughter and husband, and everything she had gained since marrying into the Ushiromiya family. No, even after all this, one thing still remained. If her husband is lost, then right now she is the last person who can protect the honor of the Ushiromiya family. She still couldn't let it end here. Even wrapped up in so much sadness, Natsui would do all she could to protect that honor, with this final bit of strength. Nope, it's all over. It's been determined with the red truth that none of the remaining people in the dining hall left until 1 o'clock. In other words, alibis have already been proven for everyone except Natsui. Here's the thing though. No one left until 1 o'clock. So how did Rosa die? That doesn't explain that. How would Natsui kill Rosa? Oh no! It's like, Lunar, you could be more serious about this. I'm trying. I'm just really tired. It's like... It's been a long work week. I still got a couple more days of work to go. Well done, Erica and Burn Castell. You've fully proven that the crime was impossible for everyone except Ushiromi Natsumi. Why don't I start reading aloud from the verdict? At 24 o'clock on October 4th, 1986, the defendant Ushiromiya left before the others while pretending to return to her room to sleep and murdered George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, Genji, one after the other during the 1 hour period of time before 1 a.m. Okay, but how? Let me tack something on. Due to circumstantial evidence, include the murder of Kraus. Yeah, that's right. In this situation, it's unthinkable that anyone except Natsui could kill Kraus. A revision to the verdict during the hour before 1 o'clock. I'm not rereading it. It's only possible for any of these murders to have taken place. The only person without an alibi during this time is Natsui. From this point forward, the defendant will be treated as the true culprit. Furthermore, because it has been fully proven that the crime was possible for humans, Beatrice, Endless Witch, this Court of Illusions hereby denies your existence. You'll be given a chance to plead your case, but can you prove an alibi for Natsui? Or can you prove that it was possible for someone other than Natsui? If you can do that, Natsui will stop at being one shade short of absolutely guilty, and the denial of your existence will be put on hold for this game. If Natsui had an alibi, Beato would have shown it long ago. In fact, wasn't the whole point of that trap to make her lose her alibi? Even if her alibi is not proven, I will believe in Natsui's innocence. No matter how much you try to pin your fake truth on her, I am the true culprit. Natsui is innocent, even without any proof. The truth is known only by the master of the night on this island, Beatrice the Golden. I am Ushiromi Natsui. Now that my husband has passed away, I am the head of the Ushiromi family. My determination will not bend no matter how you try and humiliate me. Why, you ask? It is because Father gave me permission to engrave the family crest of the one-winged eagle into my heart. How do you intend to disprove the existence of this honor with your evidence and your alibis? You cannot. The Ushiromi family crest engraved in my heart is immortal. Now that Natsui and Beatrice had practically been placed on the guillotine. Guillotine? Guillotine? They cried out with the strength of their determination. However, that did nothing but bring a cold smile to Lambda Delta's face. Erica had constructed a truth that Lambda Delta could accept, and no one could construct a more convincing truth to deny Erica's. In that case, the most convincing truth would swallow up everything else and become the one and only truth, even if it happened to be different from the real truth. The truth of those in the past is swallowed up by the truth of those in the future. This can happen even for a mixture of truth and lies, as long as everyone acknowledges it as true. Wait, is this the background for the secret boss Osmos in Final Fantasy IX? Sheesh, stop howling already. I like it best when the witches sob and beg for their lives when they're about to be burned at the stake. When they try and bluff like you do, it's such a killjoy. In that case, I guess I'll send you one final gift. A red truth to smash that bluff wide open. Oh, what do you mean? Stop it. Stop it. Lady Burncastel, hasn't it already been overwritten with the truth you wished for? That truth and Natsui should be able to coexist. Please don't defile it, please. Natsui. When did Kenzo ever say it was okay for you to engrave the one-winged eagle into your heart? Those were just words of the Kenzo from your delusions, weren't they? You know, the real Kenzo. Not once his entire life did he ever trust you from the bottom of his heart, and not once did he ever consider letting you bear the family crest. When that heartless announcement was made, Kenzo stood up. Natsui, you need not listen to this. No one can defile the crest engraved in your heart. That is yours alone. Don't let your pride as the final family head be forgotten forever. Natsui! Just shut up and disappear. You know, Burn Castell, I kind of feel that the 1,000 years of getting repeatedly murdered in Hinamizawa probably caused some emotional stress. I feel like you have some psychological damage has occurred. It's like you're not really behaving in a very ethical way or a very kind way. I think Rika Frude, ascended Super Saiyan 3 form, needs a therapist. You miserable delusion of Natsui's. Blah, 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 blah. You cannot erase me, you cannot erase my soul. Not as long as the crest is engraved in Natsui's heart. That's enough, you lying illusion. The real Kenzo wouldn't say that. Disappear. You, the illusion of Kenzo inside Natsui's mind, beautified by Natsui to suit her own purposes. Gwa! Natsui no Gwalop. A bright red flash of lightning smashed Kenzo over and over again as he screamed. Then he crumpled like a doll and sat back down in his chair as though nothing had happened. The fierce emotion had left Kenzo's face. He had truly become like a wax model, and so he would never again share kind words with Natsui. That's right, the true Kenzo never once trusted Natsui during his entire life. The true Kenzo never once considered allowing Natsui to bear the one-winged eagle, because of course Kenzo had already vanished before the start of the game. The Kenzo that appears in this game is nothing more than Natsui's delusion. Every part of this Kenzo who believed in Natsui and entrusted her with protecting the family honor was a phantom created by Natsui. Pitiful woman. Did you have to use red truth for that? Be like, you're an otaku. Like, why are you saying that with the red truth? That's kind of mean. You will now face the truth, that you never gained Ushiromi Kenzo's trust as long as he lived. Wah? Crying noises. Natsui? Don't cry. Kenzo entrusted the Ushiromi family to you, right? No, he didn't. Not only did he not entrust her with that, he never even said hello, or met her gaze even once. Mental breakdown noises. Natsui's cry was a mixture of sadness and many other emotions, and it echoed throughout the cathedral. Natsui could no longer stop her tears. And we're back to Kenzo being a jerk. Some last faint element that had cheered her up until today, that had allowed her to endure as an Ushiromiya, as the wife to the Fed's representative, and as the final family head, had been torn to bits. Natsui no longer had anything left. Natsui could no longer allow herself to even call herself an Ushiromiya. Those difficult days, those painful days, those days where she gave everything she could for the family she'd married into despite it all. The very few happy days among these, all of these flitted through her mind one after another, and disappeared. All of those once beautiful memories were then crushed by Burn Castell's red truth, smashed to bits and scattered, plunged deep into her hands, and smeared red with mournful blood. It was the red of sadness and truth. That is all. Just because the crime exists as it does, this level of reasoning is possible for Furuto Erika. What do you think, everyone? Lambda Delta clapped. Then a bit later, Burn Castell also clapped, looking pleased. The expressionless wax figure-like audience followed suit, and the unshakable verdict was welcomed with a great applause, and so the truth of this tale was decided. Does Battler get to say anything? Right now, no humans exist on this island except for those in the parlor, and with one exception has been shown that none of them have committed murder. And the culprit is among these people. Whoa, in that case, it's conclusive, isn't it? Unless the culprit is a witch who committed murder with magic, that is. It was you. You killed George, killed my husband. Why? Why? I didn't kill anyone. I didn't. In a panic, and with a voice that was far from calm, in a manner that was, to put it coldly, unsightly, Natsui denied the suspicion placed upon her. However, there was no longer any way around it. She stood up, brushed back her long hair, pointed at Natsui, and said it one more time. You're the culprit, Ushiromiya Natsui-san. Red-faced and tear-streaked, Ava walked up Natsui and grabbed her by the collar, then wordlessly she slapped Natsui's cheek. Natsui, who had never been slapped in her life, was shocked by the taste of iron she was feeling for the first time. It turned into a scuffle between Ava and Natsui. Battler immediately tried to stop them, but Ava planted a sharp knee into Battler's gut and he doubled over. Give them back. Give back George and my husband. Why did you kill them? You murderer, murderer! Sobbing, Ava kicked Natsui, who had fallen to the ground over and over. Battler tried once more to cut in and stop them, but he was brushed aside. And after that, no one tried to stop them. Repeating her son and husband's names over and over, Ava kicked Natsui and kicked her. Then she started grabbing whatever her eyes fell upon and throwing it. Natsui was hit with a steaming teacup and a can of black tea, whose tea leaves fell out all over her. She was kicked, her hair pulled and dragged up, her cheek slapped so many times that it started to swell. No one tried to stop it. It wasn't because they were worried about Ava kicking them too. It was because they thought it was an appropriate act of retribution for a person who had lost her beloved son and husband. A proper retribution. A proper truth. Everyone in the parlor accepted that Natsui was the culprit. They accepted the truth Erica claimed. So it became a proper truth, and Natsui was designated as the proper culprit. She had already lost the husband and daughter who might have protected her, and even Kenzo, who should have given her a final bit of strength, had already vanished like a bubble in the ocean of illusions. No longer would anyone protect her. No longer would anyone believe her. So she was now the true culprit. Ava's shoulders heaved with her heavy breathing. Apparently her anger still hadn't abated. Erica patted her shoulder and made Ava take a step back. Of course, this wasn't to protect Natsui from violence. It was to further humiliate Natsui now that she had been branded as the culprit. Natsui-san, I've solved 2 of the 3 riddles. The whodunit and the how-done-it. The final riddle, the why-done-it, must always be confessed by the culprit herself. Please follow the rules of the mystery genre and confess. The why-done-it refers to the motive. If this was a third-rate mystery, you would let a high-pitched laugh about now, confess to the crime, and start telling the story of her sad past. Don't tell me you intend to make me explain that part as well. I am not the culprit. Someone believe me. I just had my husband taken hostage, was threatened and fell into a trap. Natsui, with her hair a mess and her face red and tear-streaked, protested to everyone, but no one met her gaze, because it has already been resolved that Natsui was the culprit. Because Lambda Delta had acknowledged that the culprit of the tale was Natsui and had woven it that way, none of the pieces would pay any heed to Natsui, to the culprit's words. Natsui isn't the culprit. I am the Golden Witch Beatrice. I am the one who commands Rakanjima's night and who has reigned since long before the time you were all still scared of the dark. Why can't you just call it my sin? Why must you suspect Natsui? Acknowledge me. I committed all the crimes. There's no way a human is the culprit. The illusion of the witch had already been crushed, and Beato's voice didn't reach anyone. The verdict had already been made. Everything had been decided. No one can hear you. You're a phantom, a mere illusion. Go back to being a simple portrait. You're a faint phantom of a witch born when Kenzo shared his illusion with his relatives. That is the truth chosen by this world. So, great Lady Lambda Delta, now is the time for you to bury this ridiculous and foolish illusion that this witch claims is the truth. Goodbye, Beatrice. I made you a witch expecting that you'd either become my friend or help distract me from my boredom, and you've answered to my expectations. The second one, that is. Heh. I am a witch. Even if Lady Lambda Delta doesn't acknowledge it, I'm a witch. Oh, sure, but you wouldn't even be capable of believing that if I hadn't become your guardian in the first place. Yep, this is game over for you. You'll be buried in accordance to the rules of your game board. What happens to losers in your game again? Beato has already shown that clearly in previous games. You get made into a mound of living flesh before being tossed into the goat's dinner party and getting chewed to bits. Now there's a fitting end for you, Beatrice, and I did come all the way here just to hear the death cries of one as haughty as you. Well, the goat men are actually going to eat her alive. That's not good. She's going to get 5 nights at Freddy'd. One by one, a massive number of goat attendants slipped out from the shadows of the pillars and began to fill the cathedral. The goats paid no attention to Natsui, who was seated in the center, but the crowd completely enveloped her. From Beato's point of view, up on the balcony, it probably looked like a huge, boiling pot of goats. Heh. Did you know there is a passage in the Bible that says it is evil to boil a baby goat in its own mother's milk? Why was it necessary for that to be written down? Why? That's in the Bible. Why does that exist? That's right. The contract has been like this since the beginning. Yep. Our contract said that whenever you stopped entertaining me, you would relieve me of my boredom with your life. Come, strip the title of witch from this woman, and throw her into the pot of goats. Suddenly there were goats standing right behind Beato. They lifted her up roughly. Let me hear some nice screams. You're the wine I've been fermenting all this time. Then perhaps refusing your request will be my final strike back at you. Yeah, I made her say it. The best screams always come from a girl who's just said some tired line like that. Fall, Beatrice. The goats carrying Beato no longer viewed her as their master. After holding her above the pot of clamoring goats, which were snorting heavily in anticipation, they threw Beato's slender body into the air. All at once the squirming goats faced the heavens and raised their arms. It was almost as though they would be able to forget their pain for just a short while by devouring her flesh. As she flew through the air, Beato tried to smile boldly, but it was so stiff that it seemed even more pathetic, much to Bern Castell's amusement. When Beato fell into the pots, the goats caught her. Of course, they didn't do it gently. The arms of the countless goats pulled at her flesh to keep it for themselves. They tried to tear her to bits. It didn't have to be flesh. Hair, fingernails, shoes, even bits of her dress worked just fine. The mouths of those goats were the gateway into hell. However, Beato was too big to enter into that gateway, so they had to chew and tear her into small bits, into bits small enough to fit into it. Beato let out a bold laugh. She laughed from the inside of the pot of goats. However, her expression was very different from the one she had wanted. It was an expression not of a witch, but of a single human yelling at her death throes. When the sea of goats parted, Lunar leapt forward, slicing all the goats in her path with a single flash of her longsword. It was a clean slice, like cutting through butter. The goats were surprised by Lunar's sudden appearance and stepped back. In the center, Beatrice cowered in tatters, sobbing. "What's this supposed to be, Lunar, Inquisitor of Heresy?" "My apologies, but I have something to say. There is someone who has an objection to this ruling. His name is Ushiromia Battler." All of the goats stared at Battler. "What is unsatisfactory about the court's ruling? Do you possess any new evidence or truth sufficient to request a retrial?" "Gah, I get it. Lunar is offering me a helping hand. If she hadn't jumped in here, it'd be all over. And now I fully understand how I'm supposed to fight. But because I understand how, I am unable to fight right now. After all, I can't win by simply countering Erica's truth. If I want to deny her truth, I'll need to present a different one. And I still don't have a clue what that truth is. There is nothing that is not healed with time. And there is no truth that cannot be searched if you spend enough time searching. However, all trials have a limited time in which the truth must be decided. Therefore, truth that cannot be reached within that limited time cannot become truth. Yeah, I know that. By now, everyone is certain that Aunt Natsui is the culprit. It might be too late now, even for the real truth. Aunt Ava's violence will probably go unstopped, and no one is even thinking about protecting Aunt Natsui. It's no longer a situation where we can say, oh, the truth will be eventually found, and in this world the time remaining to expose the truth is very short. It's already midnight at the game's end, the police won't come. The truth won't be revealed. Only the truth decided upon here and now will remain. I slowly stood up, walked in front of Beato, and faced Lunar. I have no plan. I don't know the truth. However, if I don't jump in now, I won't get another chance to fight. The red used by Erica's group is mercilessly strict. I seriously doubt that I can put together a truth where Aunt Natsui isn't the culprit without violating the red. Why the uncertain face? How pathetic. Damn it. But Battler? I'll be the one to kill you. I want to keep that promise. And yet, right now, I don't have any plan at all. That's okay. In this world, there is no truth. The truth is made later and overwrites what comes before it. Real truth doesn't exist. I clicked a button too much. Anywhere. Now this is a splendid scenario, Lunar. It just wouldn't be interesting unless a knight appears before the princess's execution. And there's nothing better than watching heads roll before your very eyes, erase the old piece and the unneeded player all in one go. As you wish. Glory be to the great Lady Berncastel. I am the head Inquisitor of Heresy, Lunar A. Knox.